It's a real pleasure to welcome today Magnus Berglund, who is with us live from Stockholm, Sweden. And welcome, Magnus. Thank you so much for accepting to share your knowledge and all these years of experience in making the Scandic Hotels chain truly inclusive and accessible. This is the 5th episode of the Inclusive Travel Masterclasses. We've dealt with quite a few different situations and activities so far, from outdoors to accessible beaches. And today we talk about hotels, one very, very delicate and fundamental part of everyone's holiday. So Magnus, over to you. Tell us everything. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, I didn't know, I couldn't see anything, so now it's coming up.
Here we are.
Hi, my name is Magnus Berglund, and I'm going to, in the next 30 minutes, speak about accessibility for all in the hotel business. Myself, I'm working for hotel chains in the Nordic for Scandic Hotels for over 17 years. And I just leave the company on last week because of the corona. And I'm going to tell you here now more my experience. Because I was the first one who was thinking that was hired only to work with disability questions, the first one in the hotel business in the world. And this was 2003. And I'm going to tell you a little how it started, because already I have a rheumatic sickness, so I have a problem to walk. In 99, I was sick for the third time, and I didn't work for many years. And I had a real problem to walk. 2002, I could walk about 3 to 5 meters. And I was going to travel from Stockholm to Copenhagen, then taking a train over to, something happened with the PowerPoint?
Yes, sorry. Here we are.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to take a train then from the airport over to Malmö. So my problem was that, how is that going to be? I didn't know anything about how it was to be disabled or travel. And so I was going into the website for the airport and checking what sort of service you're having for me that have problem to walk. And I could find some information that I could find that I could get assistance service in the airport. Perfect, I booked that. And I could get help all the way down to the train. So I was really good. So I was thinking I can go. Then I was going into 5 different hotel chains and checking what sort of information we're having for me that have problem to walk, and how do you sell it for me? And I couldn't find any information. Could find lots of information, but not the information that maybe was so interesting for me. I could find where one hotel chain told me where I could go and play golf. Another hotel chain even told me where I could rent a horse. But I really want to know that they have a handicap room, and what is a handicap room? And there was no really guidelines what a handicap room was, because it's no law how a handicap room should be in the hotels. And today you call it more accessibility rooms or disability rooms. That day it was called handicap rooms. So I couldn't get the information I needed, so I booked off my trip. I was too scared to travel because I couldn't get the right information. I didn't know that it's going to work. And I was thinking, if I'm scared not to travel and I don't even sit in a wheelchair, it needs to be so many people that maybe don't travel just because they don't get the right information. So I called Scandic Hotel and told them that if they were starting working with disability questions, they're going to get more guests. So they hired me. It was autumn 2003. And the first we did in Scandic Hotel was renting a wheelchair. So we let everyone in the head office, was 150 people, to sit in a wheelchair for 2 hours. So we started with the CEO, and then we're just going down to everyone. So in 3 months, we have 3 wheelchairs, and everyone was testing going in a wheelchair in the office. And everyone come back and said about the same things. Everyone said, Magnus, I don't learn to go in a wheelchair for 2 hours. I need little more time. And it's going to work because I've seen many people that drive cars in a wheelchair. So I can drive a car to my work. So that's no problem. And give me 1 or 2 days. It's going to work to coming into the office and into the elevator. I need to train a little more, but yeah, it's going to work. Then everyone asked me the same questions. All 150 people said, how we are closing the handicap toilets. We had 4 handicap toilets in the head office, and in that building was new built handicap toilets, followed the law, but no one could close them. Why? Because the toilet door is going out. When you're going into a wheelchair, it's very hard to reach a hand railing. If you don't have an extra hand railing on the door, that's costing about 25 euro. And that was things we didn't think about. That's the same when I have been around the airports in all the world. In the most airports in the world, are always finding handicap toilets that you can't close. The only 3 airports I haven't found, that was in Singapore, Hong Kong, and in Beijing. That was everything was perfect. But otherwise, I find it everywhere. Even I find 8 handicap toilets in the EU building. So this is small things that we didn't think about. That's the same thing to try to reach the toilet paper in a handicap toilet if you're sitting in a wheelchair. I think it's 50% chance because normally we put it on the wrong place. Or to see yourself in the mirrors and all that. But the most interesting is when we education, that are doing education, all our team member in our hotel, or if I'm around and speaking for over 100 people, and I always ask them, how many of you have been in a handicap toilet? Everyone put up the hand. Then I asked them, how many of you was thinking about something was wrong when you was in the handicap toilet? If I'm lucky, about 10% put up the hand, if I'm lucky. Then I asked them, how many of you was going directly to the reception and told something was wrong so we could fix it? Maybe 1 or 2 do that, but not normally. But the big thing is, if you come into a hotel and the lamp is broken in the conference room, all the guests are telling the lamp is broken and we can fix it. Well, I tell this story because I want you to understand how hard is it to work with this with the questions. And we don't think about it all the time. We don't think about all the small things that people that don't sit in wheelchair don't think about. Can we go to the next page, please? I mean, because everything is about making sure everyone is welcome. It's welcome easier said than done. Because I don't know how it is to sit in a wheelchair, or I don't know how it is to be blind and so on, or don't hear so well. I don't know that, but the only thing I can do is to try to give him the best service. And one of the goals I always said when I was working for Scandic Hotels that we don't have any disabled guests. We don't have any disabled people, in the hotel. We're having guests that may be having a disability. That's a different way to think about it. That's a different way to work with it. Next page, please. I mean, we create hotel experience for everyone. I mean, that's for everyone. That's meaning one of the things with education is how to cook food for someone who's blind. People say, yeah, we're cooking the same. Yeah, we're cooking the same, but how do you put up the food on the plate? Yeah, you need to put up the food on the plate so it's like a clock. So 12 o'clock you have the meat, 3 o'clock you have the potato, 6 o'clock you have the gravy, 9 o'clock you have that you don't like to eat. So you so you know how to, when the waiter know how to go up to the guest and tell him where the food is on the plate. That's things we need to do. Because now we're treating everyone as a guest. We don't think that the guest can see. We don't think that the guest can hear. We need to start starting to see how can we give him the best service for the guest. Then if the guest is blind or don't see or don't walk, we need to give him the best service. And that's one of the things we notice when we start working with these questions. Next, please. Why accessibility support our business? I mean, this is really, really, really good business. I can't tell you so much numbers, but I can tell you some. I mean, we did in Scandic Hotel, we did education. So we education all our team members in 55 hotels in Sweden, 2005. Then it was going out at the same time and asking all these 55 hotels, how many of you have had a conference about accessibility or have meetings with people that really need accessibility in your hotel? And I had 14 hotels that had that 2005. 2006, I had 49 of these 55 hotels that had it. And we had 15,000 more room nights on conference, on meetings, just because we're working with disability questions. And we have done nothing on the building, only we have changed our way to working. That's really, really the big thing. And we see that we have lots of accessibility organization in Europe that's important when you're booking your conference, that the hotel is accessible for all. That's understood. But on the same time, we see lots more companies and the governments, all the governments, when they are booking hotels and conferences, need to be accessible for all. And that's something that's coming much, much more. And that we're seeing in all the countries in the Nordic and in the Nordic Europe. We're seeing that's coming much, much more. So something, and people is working more and more will have some sort of disability, and everyone need to come for the same meeting. So big companies now is now starting is the hotel accessible for all. So one person in a wheelchair can decide where a whole conference of 400 people is going to be. Because if it's not working for the person sitting in a wheelchair, they're not going to book the conference, they're going to change it. If they don't have hearing loops, then they need to change it. That's things we see much, much more. One of the things that is really big in Sweden is food like gluten and lactose. And now we have it in the Scandic Hotel, we have it in the breakfast already, so you don't need to ask for it. And people is in the conference booker want to know that this just going to work, so they don't need to ask about it when they're coming. They just want to be normal conference. Then if people have gluten or lactose, should not be any problem. That's one of the big things. We see in the EU directive is coming much, much more about accessibility should be for everyone. We see it in the meetings, things like that. Increase involvement with the companies, yes, and this drives sales. This is just going to come much, much more. Can please go on for next, please? Because the most important is everyone is a guest. Next, please. Next. I mean, I was speaking about meetings, and that's the really, really big group, and that's the most easier to see the money and things like that. But the really big thing is, that is leisure. And this is going to be much, much more interesting now after COVID-19 and things like that, because people over 60 years old, it's many of the people that are really spending money. I even have heard that people over 60 is spending 50% of the money in the tourist sector from Europe and the United States. The most interesting, if you're 65, 51% have some sort of disability. If you're 75, 70% have some sort of disability. Yes, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be home. That means that you maybe have a problem to walk more than 100 meters, or don't hear so well, or don't see so well, and so on. But you're going to travel. If you're asking in airports before COVID-19, in airports in Europe, and ask them about assistance service, they're going to tell you that that is going up between 15 to 25% every year on every airport. I was in Copenhagen airport. That is more. It's a big airport in the northern country, but it's not that big if you look in Europe. And they only had over last year over 110,000 assistance service. All these people that have assistance service should go on the hotel or travel or things like that when they come into the cities. And many of these people maybe can walk 100 meters, 50 meters. So they maybe don't need handicap rooms in the hotel. They maybe need a normal room, but they maybe need a chair to sit in the shower. Because we need, that's why I'm coming back to all the time to speak about the service. We are so afraid to asking what is the guest want. No, and that's one of the big things, because I have my dog. I have a service dog. I'm not blind. I have a service dog that carry my computer and help me wherever I travel. And I have a stick. And no one ever happened when I come into a hotel ask me if I need a chair to sit in the shower. If I come in a wheelchair, they ask me if I need a chair to sit in the shower. But when I come in with a stick, it's never happened. So this is things we need to start to see. How can we giving the best service for all our guests that are coming to the hotels? And we have 70% of all disability you can't see. You don't know if a guest have a disability or not. And only in Nordic, we have 2.5 million people that have a disability. More than 65 million in Europe. And I know people say that's too low number. I have heard 130 million and 120 million. But even if we go to 65 million people, we have lots of people with disability that travel every day. Not today, but we're hoping they're going to start to do that again. So this is really, really a big thing. So I always asking, who is the most important people when I speak up? And I was asking if it's anyone in the room that is over 60 years old, because that's the people that are spending most money. So this is what we really need to go for the next C to hear when we're speaking about the business. Can you go on the next slide, please? Disability come in all shapes and sizes. And why I have this, because we don't know who have a disability. We really don't know. The only thing we know that is coming lots of guests to our hotel and to the airports and to shops and so on. That's what we know. Because 70% again, you can't see if the person have a disability. Next, please. So how do we treat our guests with disability? One of the things we do, we have a workshop in Scandic Hotel when we really speak about disability. And that's so important, because we need to know that many people that are working in the tourist sector, work in the hotels, is the first job they're having. They may be 16, 17, 18 years old and started working in the tourist sector. So we need to speak about disability questions so we can give them the best service. So we have one of the things we're doing in the workshop, we're doing that, we say that the guest is coming and I'm the guest and I'm blind, and how do we give them the best service? What is the difference we're doing for guests that can see and not see? How do we follow the guest up to the hotel room and so on? One of the things we know that is things like asking a person that can't see, do you need help in the morning to go down to the breakfast? So you may be just booking up the time that we're coming up and meet the guests at the hotel room. This is small things that we're taking up and do list on and things like that. And how do we do it if it's fire, if people need to go out and like that? So we're taking up all this discussion. That's really, really important. Then we're asking, how can we give the best service for a person that is deaf, don't hear anything? And I met a funny story. I met a person that was deaf, working for the European Deaf Organization, and for many years ago. I met him in Vienna, and he told me, Magnus, I need to tell you, you're doing so good service. You do nothing. That's really, really good. I said, excuse me? Yeah, you're doing really good service. Yeah, but you said do nothing. Yeah, that's the best way. You don't do nothing when I come into the hotel. That's so good. Okay, you need to tell me a little more what you're meaning. Yeah, because so many times I come into hotels, if I come into a Scandic hotel, you're just putting up a paper and pen and say, welcome. That's what you do. You don't do anything more. But if I come into other hotels many times, they're thinking, yes, because I'm deaf, I can read lips. And I can't read lips. I don't know why people think that everyone is deaf can read lips. So just don't do nothing. Just put up the paper and pen, and then we go from that. That's things we're taking up in our workshop, and we're having the discussion. And that's really, really most important. And we need to, and one person told me, Magnus, I helped a person in a wheelchair, and he was rude to me. Okay, so I asking this 100 people in the hotel, ask how many of you have met a disabled person that been rude to you? Please put up your hand. And it was about 10%. Then I asking how many of you have met not a disabled person, a normal person, or what you want to call that, have been rude to you? And you can guess how many that put up your hand? Yeah, 100%. So just because have a sense of disability, I don't need always to smile. I can have a bad day. And that's things we need to take me up and have a discussion about in our workshops. And that is so important. Then we asking, what should I think about if I have a guest that have break the leg? Then we're taking up, yeah, you need to ask the guest if you need a chair to sit in the shower, because we always miss that. And that's all about how can we giving the best service. That was it's all about. Next, please. So here we are showing what we're doing in this 15 minutes when we do all these things here. How do we provide the best service for guests with a visual impairment? How a guest with an hearing and so on. So this is the workshop that we're doing. It's taking no more than 15, 20 minutes. And people call me 1 year later and told me this was so good course. In all this workshop we're doing, education is 1.5 hours. But we're getting this up. So this is a startup I do for the hotel or for the tourist sector, where we're having this 1.5 hour education. So then they need, after this, going back and go wheelchair and do all these things. But this is a good way to start it up. Next, please. One of the things I always ask him, disabled person with an assistant, who should I say hi to? The person, the guest that's sitting in a wheelchair, or the assistant? And some people say, oh, the guest or the assistant. I mean, everyone that's coming into the hotel is a guest. So this is more of the trick questions, because everyone that's coming into the hotel is a guest, in assistant or not. So we're saying hi to everyone. We just need to do it easy. And that's what it's all about. Disabled person with a guide dog, people, yeah, but if someone is allergic, how do we do that, and things like that. I mean, if we are giving a big smile and asking, we're fixing about 99%. I've been around and traveled with my dog so many days and so many times, and have never have any problem. Sometimes someone is allergic, and then I'm moving. But if I'm sitting first in a restaurant and someone is allergic, then they need to move, or if they are sitting, I'm moving. So we don't do any big thing about it, and it's all 99% it's always working. We can go next page, please. We got so much awards and so much nominees. Is it because of me? No. Is it about our buildings? No, I haven't discussed so much about our buildings or telling us so much about the buildings, because the building is important. Yes, it's very important when we design our hotel that we're really trying to see the next step, how we can make it so we can sell all the rooms to everyone. That's what we really try to do. But all the awards and nominees is because of team members. That's what it's all about. It's about all our team members that are doing so much good work or every day. That's the most important we're having in the tourist sector. Building is important, but the team member is most important. That's why we get all these awards and also nominees. I'm going to tell you a little about the sign. I don't have that in the PowerPoint here, but we have really trying the last 10 years to design all our handicap rooms. When we're building new hotels, we try to do, Scandic tried to do about 10%. And we try to design it so it's going to work for everyone. So so many things that we can take in the bathroom is normally maybe looking like a hospital rooms, and that don't need to do that. We can having that we're putting in railings that we can take on and off and things like that. I mean, when you're coming into a hotel, if you have one part of the reception that is lower so you can check in a wheelchair, don't cost any more money to build that. You just need to think about that when you renovation or when you build the hotels. And one of the things we know that normally we put in the lower part of the desk in one of the corners. then we understand, okay, no one is going to go there. So we build something that no one is really using. So now we're trying to put it on the same place or everyone else is checking in. So we need to see learning, on the time when we're building new hotels. And the most important is when you're building new hotels or airport and everything for the tourist sector, is you need to coming in with accessibility questions in the early time. I have been in Scandic Hotels. I have many of the projects I've been in before we even have signed the contract, because it's so important that we're getting this question in the first time. Otherwise, it's going to cost more money to change on the way. Can go on the last slides, I'm thinking. And this is my dog, Dixie, and she's with me everywhere. And now she's sick, so she's going to have a pension. So I'm going to get a new dog in a few weeks. It's Black Labrador. Its name is Dahlia, and you can always follow my dogs on Instagram, and the Instagram account is Dog at Work. So Dog at Work, you can follow my dogs. So that was what I'm going to tell you a little about how we're working with accessibility questions. And I mean, the big thing I'm thinking is that this is just going to come more and more. We need to start thinking about this all in the tourist sector, because otherwise we're going to lose money. And that's really the big thing. And I'm thinking it's now when people are going to start travel again, and it's going to come up again, this is need to really be up on the first step from the beginning. So I'm open for questions about this.
Super. Thank you, Magnus. This was really great. And
Thank you.
And then now we can open to the questions. So all the participants, you can use the chat to add a question, or there's also a Q&A option. You can use either. And I already have a question for you.
Yes.
From 2 slides before, the slide with the awards. I saw an award for e-learning.
Yeah.
They do at Scandic, you had them set up remote training for hotels worldwide?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I didn't speak so much about that. I was speaking about, we have two sorts of, we have one education when I'm going around and do all the hotels, when we meet all the team members. That's education we're doing for all the new hotels and hotels we're taking over. Then we have e-learning. We had to have e-learning for over 10 years. Now we have the new e-learning and that, but there have always have been e-learning because so many new team members. I have heard that in the tourist sector it's about 30% new team members every year. So you need to have an e-learning when you're taking up things like that. So we have e-learning, and you can, if you want, you can go into Scandic Hotels website, and there you can see the e-learnings. And there you're having small films about how do you cleaning a handicap room, example, or what should you think about if you work in the reception and things like that. So we have all those things up.
And these trainings are open for all. I thought it was a separate platform, but everybody can see them. These videos.
Not all of them is up. Some of the example is up, and then you have some that is not up. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw them.
And that's because it's 2 different platforms. That's why.
Okay. But it's nice that there is also some content that is available for example, smaller hotels that want to copy, the best practices from the big chains. And this would be my next question. And it is about what would be your tips for example, the owner of a small local smaller hotel, like a family-owned hotel, or really a tinier scale hotel. What could be implemented easily to improve access?
Yeah, my first answer should be, because myself is going to be now be a consult guy, so I should say call me. But no, really, small hotel thing like that. Yeah, I mean a small hotel. The best you can do is to calling your local disability organization. Yes, saying what can I do here? How can I make it better? I'm not going to renovation, but then you're going to learn and things like that, and that's the most important. And then rent a wheelchair. If you don't buy it in a wheelchair, borrow a wheelchair, rent a wheelchair, have fun with your team member in the hotel, do a race, do anything. So we're getting up the discussion, and that's really the most important thing.
Okay,
Another thing that is really, really good to do, just with your team member, if you just 10 people in the hotel, is just to do your own blind lunch. So you're putting up, so you can't see anything in the meeting, because people is going to laugh and have fun. And that's the best way to getting up the discussion.
cool. So the blind lunch and the
Wheelchair, rent a wheelchair. That's every team member needs to go around the wheelchair. You need to know how it is, because if the hotel is not perfect in the building, then you know that. Then you know where to go around. Then you know, okay, you need to go around with a wheelchair here or here. You know which room is better for the person to get, and things like that. I need to ask you, can you guess me, do you know why many people, or all the blind people that I know, many is call me and complaining that they're getting accessibility room. In a hotel, they're complaining if they're getting acceptable rooms. And now we're speaking about blind people. And the people that's complaining most is women. Can you guess why?
the mirror.
No, they're
No.
blind. They're blind.
Oh no, they're blind. Sorry. Yeah. I have no idea.
Because the bathroom is so big. In the accessibility room, in the handicap room, is built for people in wheelchair. So the bathroom is so big, so you don't know where to have all the small things. So many people that is blind want a smaller bathroom, because then it's easier to use that. And that's things we need to know. That's things we need to learning about that, because so many times I know in the hotel business we are putting in people in the accessible rooms. If you have a problem to walk or blind or deaf, we put everyone in the same room and don't think about that. And that's, we need to start thinking, what is the guest want? So one of the things I have done when I see people, that's everyone, if I'm in a hotel, and if I see a person that going with a stick, sitting wheelchair or blind or anything with disability, and I know, I always go up to them and ask them, what can I do for you to be my guest again? That's what I'm asking everyone if they have any sort of disability.
Okay, this is great, because I think maybe sometimes one of the things people are scared of is actually asking direct questions, because they fear it might be unpolite or too direct. But if the question is focused on what you need, what do you actually need to make your stay in the hotel more comfortable, then it's how you ask the question, I guess.
It's always about how you ask the question, because one of the big things is that I have never been, I can tell myself, when I was disabled, I've never been treated like children so many times after I was growing up, because we are so afraid to asking the right questions. And the most important, treat me as a guest. Ask me, what do I need to do for you to put the business, your money, in my hotel? If I ask that, then you're going to get the right questions, the right answers.
Cool. We have a question from Italy, in particular from Sardinia, from Stefania Gandin, who is asking, she says, first of all, hello, thank you for your presentation. My questions are the following. What are, according to you, the most challenging sectors when it comes to ensuring an accessible accommodation service? And then how do you promote accessible accommodation? What is the most important information to be advertised, according to your opinion, Magnus? So what is the most challenging part of creating accessible accommodation, and what are the right words to promote it once you have it set up?
I'm thinking if we start with the first question, I mean, again, it's so important how we're asking about that, and don't and asking what is the guest or the group need. I need to take one example. We're having 2007. We're having over 180 wheelchairs in one hotel. No one want them, and no one have asked them what do they need. There was a wheelchair world championship in wheelchair tennis. It's all about, and then we come up, the most could walk, but they just could walk a few meters. So we need to put in a shower in the shower. So it's all about what sort of disability the guest having. And I'm never asking what sort of disability a person having. I always asking, what do I need for you to be my guest? That's the most important thing. To starting to asking about that. Don't focus so much about the disability, asking what the guests want, because it's so different. Because people have so different with the disability and things like that. So a building that could be good for one on the wheelchair, maybe on the next day it's not perfect even for 4 wheelchairs, because it's maybe very big wheelchairs, different and things like that. So we need, or maybe one building conference room could be perfect for people in wheelchair, but it's not perfect for people that is deaf, and so on. So we need to, again, asking, what can I do for you? That's the most important thing, and having up the discussion. Don't be afraid of that. That's the big thing.
Okay, so you say the most challenging part is actually customizing the approach to the customer.
Yeah,
So it's really it's not so much the structure, but the approach.
When I was starting when I was starting for Scandic and for Hilton in 2003, one of the things I was doing, I was calling our conference booking and asking lots of questions. And so, and I even could get information on which hotel I could get in the horse in the stage. When I asking, I'm going to have 3 people in a wheelchair, they told me they're going to call back. So we didn't know about things like that. We was afraid about that, but that we need to having discussion what the guests want, and that's the most important. And so many times I'm having in some hotels, I'm maybe having 2 handicap rooms, but on the same time I had 15 people in a wheelchair because they don't need a handicap room, but they maybe need to sit in the shower. So we need to see different things, and that's the most important. And how you promote it, we don't, I mean, put it on the website, put up information how the hotel look like. In Scandic Hotel, they are putting up 100 points how the hotel look like. So there you can read about how many meters is it from the parking into the hotel, how high is the bed, and so on. Because again, I don't know what information you need. You maybe have problem to walk 100 meters, so you want parking near, and so on. So put up so much information you can, and put it up in the normal thing that you do. That's the most important.
We have one more question.
Yes.
So this is to you, Stefania. And all right, this is from Decalage. We're in Belgium.
Yes.
Anne and Vanessa from Decalage ask you, when a hotel has adapted rooms, most of the time there is only one double bed. Why not twin beds? If the disabled person is accompanied, they do not sleep in the same bed as their companion. With 2 single beds, you can make a double bed, but with a double bed, you cannot make 2 single beds. Well, what do you say to this situation that is really frequent?
Yeah, I don't know so much about the older things on how they work with that, but I can tell you in Scandic we all have single beds, 2 single beds, so we can put together. Because we try to bed there in Scandic, we try to put in beds that you can do going up and down for the back and for the legs, and so that's the normal thing.
Yeah, I saw you have a lot of adjustable beds. There are a lot of adjustable beds for everyone, let's say.
Yeah, no, we have it in all the handicap rooms. They put it in all when a renovation or building new hotels. We put it in.
Okay. Speaking about Decalage, I know Anne and Vanessa, so I know that they are very wild and wonderful travelers. They organize trips for people with mobility impairments,
Yeah,
and they go all over the world in lots of inaccessible places.
yeah, that's
So
good. Yeah,
yes, so I know that Anne has a particular, she's very handy with making not accessible rooms accessible temporarily. So when she
yeah, that's
travels with the
moving. Yeah,
group, she basically takes doors off the hinges. She puts curtains and
yeah,
manages to make the most of what's available. But I was very interested by the say the transparent accessibility, the invisible accessibility trend, which is not to make the room look like a hospital room,
yeah,
which is what you see often in very highly um, adapted structures, but which is now less and less, fortunately, fashionable. So I've seen some things in Italy, for example. We were talking with Roberto Vitali, who's
yeah.
working in this field, and he showed me some really interesting invisible, let's say, design features, so that the rooms
Yeah, and
are
that's
beautiful
very,
but also
yeah.
practical.
Oh, that's very, very important because in many countries in the law coming much more that you need to build between 5 to 10% of the rooms, and you want to sell them for everyone. So it's very important that the design so it's working for everyone, and that's very important. And at the same time, I don't want to pay just because I have a disability. I don't want to pay 150, 200 euro for a room like looking like a hospital rooms. I mean, I have been in hotels that hospital rooms have been, I mean, looking really bad. So the hospital rooms I had in the hospital was much better. So I think this is coming much more, and that's very, very important. And you need, yes, for 10 years ago, many countries you just need to build 1% acceptable room. So that's another thing. So you didn't put so much time in to try to do them design on the right way. But today you can design them much better.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
have a question regarding the booking, because
Yes.
what this is my personal, let's say, um, problem that in big, like websites like booking.com or hotels.com, apart from in some hotels in the United States,
Yeah.
it is not possible to book the accessible, the adapted room
Yeah.
on the website. You have to go
No.
in the hotel website, and sometimes, to be honest, the fees are more interesting in booking.com, for example. Not to do any advertising,
No.
but
No. No. No.
they have this
Yeah.
big discounted offers. But you do not have the guarantee of booking a hotel room. I know that I think in the Scandic website, for example, you can book separately the accessible room, but I do not know if the rooms that you can book, for example, in Scandic or other large hotel chains who have also accessible rooms, if you can also, let's say, book be sure that you're booking the accessible room from a big hotel search engine.
Okay, and there was many questions in the question. No, I mean, in the Scandic Hotel where I was working, one of the things we was looking at was how can we do that technical longer forward, because we in Scandic you can't booking a handicap room. You can only have it like a wish, because handicap room is in the hotel business. It's not a room standard. It's not the single room, it's not the standard room, it's not, it could be a superior room and so on. So it's not that. And the big problem with the system was that then you only can sell it like accessible rooms and not like a superior room. And you want to sell it both in the system. So that's why the technical was the big thing. And I know some hotel chains that not that you can book it, because they maybe only have 1 or 2 rooms. They only sell it like accessible rooms. But big hotel chains like Scandic, like building 10%, they sell it like superior room or like acceptable rooms. But they don't take more money for it. They're not allowed. So that's the same. You don't paying more just because you need acceptable rooms or not. That was the decision. And the leading dogs is free in all the hotels. So that's the big thing with the technical things like that. That's, and I think that is just going to come in much, much more. So I'm hoping that the big company, not maybe like hotel.com or something like that, is going to push much, much more longer forward. But one of the big problem is that it's not acceptable room is not a room standard. That's the big thing, because every room could be a single room or a double room or a suite or a room and so on.
Okay, so that explained. Thank you. I was
That's
very curious about this
yeah,
because
so
from my side, I find it very annoying that it's not possible
I
to book it
agree 100%.
separately in most cases.
Then it's very important that you're having in the website that you can have like a wish, but if you want to be 100%, that you can call in directly and they have a telephone number so you can call. That's the most important. But I know some hotels in Europe and things like that, then you can book in extra rooms. Yes, they maybe only have one or two like that, so that's why they have it up. So that's the difference.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then we have a question from Japan.
Yeah.
Miyasu Nomura is asking you, as a traveler, how can we find out good accommodation for someone with disability? Do we have any way to check the readiness of the hotel other than asking them directly? Yeah, that's always a bit the question, the issue, isn't it? It's if you have some good examples of
yeah, and I agree, that's a really big problem for me, that like to travel, even if I go on the airport and all that information, that's so important. And I'm hoping hotels are going to be much better on that. And now if they can starting to film the hotels so we can see how it is to check in, I think that the hotel that doing that getting more business. And one of the things I was seeing in Scandic, that the hotel that putting up more information, they're getting more and more guests. So putting up information in the hotel and education, that's the most important to getting more business.
Yeah, I agree. One problem is often that sometimes you have incredibly accessible features, places, or structures, private or public, but there is not enough communication about it, so people don't actually know. For example, recently I found out by having a chat at a trade show when there were still trade shows not that long ago, that I found out that, for example, to go to Venice from the airports, the two nearby airports, both San Marco and Treviso, there is a shuttle service which is also adapted and has a lift for wheelchairs, and it has the same exact price as the everybody else's shuttle service, because it's a public service, and you don't even need to book it, and it's something really, really good, but people don't know about it because it's not very much advertised. So yeah, that's always kind of a gap between sometimes having a really accessible feature but not telling about it loudly enough.
Or you don't need to tell that the hotel and that is accurate, but you need to tell the information so I can choose what is important for me. And so that's and so I know in Scandic Hotel they put about 100 points about how many meters is from the parking and so on. But the next step is to put up more picture and videos, so that's very important. But I know when I travel and I have problem to walk sometimes, I need to know do I need to book assistance service in the airport or not. I mean, I hope in the next step is going to be that if I could put in somewhere that yes, I need assistance service if it's more than 400 meters or 500 meters, then the assistance service know if they need to help me or not. Because I know in small airports, they taking in people to help me, and then they say no, I don't need any help. So that's very important. That I think we can go in much with the right information and putting up much more.
Yep. We have another question from Belgium, from Marilou Thieren from the CAWAB, which is the Accessibility Association for Southern Belgium, Wallonia, and Brussels. So Marilou asks you, do you have legal obligations in the Nordic countries related to accessibility? And which, let's say, obligations have improved accessibility?
I
which
don't understand the questions right.
it's basically what is the legislative let's say framework in the Nordic countries, and
Okay.
which elements have most improved, if I interpret correctly.
Yeah,
The,
when we're building new hotels and things like that, it's very different in different countries. I don't know, in Norway, it's a law that you need in a new hotel, need to build about 10% of the rooms. In Sweden, it's very different, even which city you are. So it's different in different countries. In Denmark, you have something that when you build new hotels, you have something they're calling handicap room or handicap friendly room and things like that. So it's different in all the countries. But we have what I did when I was working in Scandic, we have our own standard. There was 155 points that you can find in the Scandic website. And that we're putting up all the things that we were thinking about when we was building new hotel. Because we don't own the hotel, Scandic Hotel rent a hotel, but there's many things they can decide in a way what they wanted in. So these was that we always follow the law, but then we're putting in the standard what we want the extra. Everything from that we're having a stick holder in the reception, or one part near our reception need to be lower and things like that, or that we're having adjusted bed going up and down. All that things is no law. So that's another thing. And it's very important again. I mean, the law is important, yes. But we need to go around the hotel and checking everything, because we're never going to have a law that I need to reach the toilet paper just because it's a wheelchair. So I think this is the big thing with education and getting everyone to think.
Okay, so basically, you in all the countries where Scandic has hotels, you follow both your own guidelines, your own,
Yes.
let's say, standards, and you have to comply to the local
sure.
legislation, if there is one, because
Yeah.
Every country is a bit different.
But many of the things about service is not in the law.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the law that you need to see the mirror in the handicap door. Yes, it's not so. You need to work with as you do with everyone else. Yes, we don't have law for everyone, for everything, and I think that's the most important. We need to see the guests, and we need to do education, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I mean I'm from Italy, and Italy has rather strict standards for the built-in accessibility. Then, as I often say, the problem is the maintenance, but in theory, all things that are built have to follow rather strict guidelines.
That you're having strict, but you don't having that saying that you need to reach the toilet paper again, or that you need to reach the cup of coffee when you sit in a wheelchair. So we need to train, and we need to see all the things. We have one of the things that the buffet for breakfast can't be higher than 85 to 90 centimeters. I haven't seen that in the law, but we have it because it's need to work for so many guests as possible. And that's, I think, need to be the focus. When you build new hotel, or when you renovate anything, how can we build this so we're going to work for so many people as possible?
Okay. This is very clear. I didn't know you had an Instagram for your dogs.
Yeah, dog at work. Yeah.
Because I thought you said you didn't like technology, but Instagram is.
Was not my choice.
I'm very curious. We're good to follow dog at work, definitively.
And you asked me before what I'm going to do. Now I'm not working for Scandic, so my next goal is to be my own and working for helping all other tourist sector, everything from airports to hotels. So to do education, that what I hope, because education we're seeing is the most fastest way to really getting the business in.
Speaking of education, what about tourism schools? Have you had in your professional life? Have you done already, or are you planning to do training for tourism schools?
I have been invited sometimes. We have speaking 2-3 times a year in some tourist school. Yes.
In Sweden or internationally?
Yeah, in Sweden, and some in Norway and things like that. And I was going to someone in Geneva a few years ago, but then I was sick, so I couldn't go. So yeah,
Okay.
so I've been around. Yeah,
Because that's one other thing. To be
yeah,
honest, I think it's a fundamental element. I've been trying
yeah.
to kind of work a bit in this direction, but it's a bit difficult to convince the tourism schools to take more than one shot, like a one-shot lesson every year on the
Okay,
subject. At
yeah,
least here in Belgium, which is a bit of
yeah.
a pity because there's plenty of tourism schools, and but
It's very important. I agree 100%. If we're going to do a change, we need to get it into the schools, right? That I agree 100%.
any more questions from our participants? We have two continents. We have Europe and Asia today. So, what about you? Do you have questions for the participants?
No, I'm happy.
Good. That's very good. And so, if there are no more questions, I think we can.
And I am on LinkedIn, and you can give me and if you need to, anyone can email me, and it's very easy to get me in touch. That is Magnus Berglund 99 at
gmail.com.
Gmail. Yeah.
But I will send all the participants and after webinar
Yeah.
email with your contacts and
Thank you very much.
with some interesting links as well. But we have another question from Japan.
Yes.
He wants to know more about the blind dinner or the blind lunch. How do you organize that? How does it work?
We did one really big thing where we tried to do the world record. So we invited big companies and things like that. So we had 250 people for blind lunch, and it was so we're having these 250 people was they getting a blindfolder to put on, so we do it very easy. But everyone was serving themselves water, so they know where the glass was, they know nothing like that. Then they put in the blindfolder on. Then the food started coming in, and we didn't tell them what the food was. So they only know that it's 5 different things on this, and it's taking about 30 seconds. Then every guest is starting to speak in this table. We have a round table, and everyone is asking and telling, what have you found? And everyone is starting directly to speak like a clock. So I find that 12 o'clock, or I find that 6 o'clock, and things like that. And one person told me it was so hard because I only wanted everyone to stop, don't say anything, because if you're not used to it, to speak when people don't see it. So everyone was speaking together all the time. So it's really, really fun. And we do it very easy. We do it just 10, 15 minutes. Then we're having the head course was eating without the blindfold. So only doing the starter. Then that's easy for having discussion all the dinner. And that's a really easy way to getting up the discussion about something like that.
Oh, that's another thing that you can also do if you have a small hotel. You just take all
it's
take
perfect.
all your team and
we're doing this in many of our hotels. They did it in Scandic the 3rd of December. That is the International Disability Day. So they invited lots of guests and do things like that. And one of the things I was reading on Facebook after that was one guest, travel agent, she said, it was so funny, and I'm never going to complain on my children that eating with the hands anymore. So people have fun and they think about it on the same time.
That sounds great. And also, the most interesting thing, we're having all these master classes with some top companies and top museum institutions from around the world. But the nicest thing is always to hear these tips that also the smaller ones can implement, locally. And it's always great to it's 250 people having a blind lunch is something massive and brilliant. But then you think, yeah, cool, but we could also do it, with our 10 waiters.
10 people is perfect. Yeah.
And
do it with your team member too, because then you're getting something to discuss about it, and that's really, really good way. Yeah.
Super. I have one last question, because I was wondering. I mean, Scandic is of course a best practice, and and you've worked hard on this, and what about the training for emergencies? How to evacuate. How
Yeah.
was the accessibility part integrated in also in the health and safety trainings, or was it a
Yeah,
separate training?
in the safety training we take it up, and that's very different country how the safety is. And I was invited even to speaking for the Paralympics committee. I was in Rio, and then I remember that we discussed how do we do things like that. So this is very important to getting up in the discussion in every country.
Okay, so but it's a component of is the accessibility component of the emergency
Yeah,
training for the staff.
yeah. And the most important here, because we have this data law that you're not allowed to put in that I have a disability and things like that. So you need to have a system so you know that maybe a person that has a problem to walk and like that, in which room they are. So that you need to build up a system in every hotels.
Okay, because for the GDPR,
Yeah, that's
you
the problem.
okay, but you can associate that person not with this, not, let's say, for example, with a
What
pathology,
you
but
can do,
with a
we
need.
do. Yeah, but you do it very easy that you just saying that room 305 going to need help with to leave the room. So you maybe don't say that the wheelchair or blind or deaf, yes, put it in room 305 going to need help. Then you know that, then you can take in the fire department and tell them about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is because this is another factor, yes,
Yeah.
that we
Sure.
have a lot of questions about. Okay, Magnus, it was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your expertise, and we will be sharing your contacts with the participants.
Thank you very much for being invited and speaking. Wonderful.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and have a really good summer.
Yes, you too, and to all our participants, see you for the next episodes. On Friday, we talk about accessible ski.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.